Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be our birth story. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Rachel. I have a few other videos of my story so far. I am a breast cancer patient / survivor who was never supposed to be able to get pregnant. So obviously with the title of this video, I did get pregnant, I did have a baby, which was pretty much a miracle in and of itself. He was referred to as a miracle baby on the hospital floor. So I'm going to go through the rest of my pregnancy starting at week 36 and then the actual birth of our son. I really wanted to do a birth vlog. I bought a special camera to be able to do it with. I was super excited, but wasn't able to for two reasons. One, the hospital had a strict no video policy, but also we'll find out the rest later on. So starting at week 30, well, I guess throughout my pregnancy, with everything that I had gone through as far as cancer treatment goes, we were always like super cautious because, again, in the beginning, we didn't even know that this was going to be a viable pregnancy because of all the treatment and medications and drugs that have been pumped into my body for the last 3.5 years. But every single time I went to the doctor, everything was perfect. Not only was I cleared of being high risk at 14 weeks, which was a huge relief, but also every time I went to go see my OBGYN, my urine, my blood pressure, my weight gain, my vitals, the baby's heartbeat, everything was perfect all the time. There was never anything that had happened that needed, like even my pregnancy, like it was uncomfortable growing a human. Like it wasn't like all rainbows and unicorns. Like it was difficult, but it was enjoyable. Like I loved being pregnant. I loved having a belly. I loved feeling him move. I loved everything about it, especially after I got out of that first trimester where I wasn't throwing up constantly. So at week 36 is when I started to have my weekly visits with him. And my doctor has been with me through all of my cancer journey and everything. So I just adore him. He's a wonderful doctor. And always, this was like such an unexpected thing for us. Like he always made it like that much easier for us. Like he'd come in, he'd joke around with Eric and, you know, just kind of lighten the mood a little bit. As awful as it sounds, just from my history, and I am not a whiner, I'm not a complainer, I've never been an oh me person. It's not like that at all. But throughout the whole pregnancy, and maybe it was me more so than Eric, but I was almost always waiting for something to happen because that was just the reality of my life for the last 4 years, just about. Like everything would be going good and then something would come up and everything was going so well. Like it just seemed too good to be true. So I was always really nervous, like for no reason at all. I was off all my cancer treatments, my chemotherapy, like my body was going through so much, and as much as my body was changing, I felt so good because my body was finally like back to being a 33-year-old. So starting at my 36-week treatment, good Lord, my 36-week appointment, I went in and that was the first internal exam that I had had, and my cervix was closed. I kind of to back up a little bit. Eric thought I was going early. I 100% thought I was going to go past the 40-week mark. The baby was always on my right side, always in my ribs, whether it was a foot, an unknown body part. Like I would have to move the top of my stomach to like push him down because he was like right up in there. It was so uncomfortable. So I didn't think I was going early. I thought I would definitely wind up being like the 41, 42 week person. So 36 weeks, I was like, all right, I think I'm going to be right. Eric will be wrong for the first time in his life, of course. So my cervix was closed. The heartbeat was really strong. He said that he was a very happy baby. But my belly was measuring small. When they measure me from like the top of my belly down to my pubic bone, he said that it was small, which he wasn't super concerned with. He said that just may be how you carry a baby, and that's fine. And the same thing happened to my sister a few weeks earlier, like in her pregnancy. It was not 36, she was like 32 weeks or something. So he said at 37 weeks, he said, we're going to do a sonogram. We're going to check his weight, check his position, just see how he's doing. just as a precaution, but he wasn't nervous at all. So that was fine with us. So week 37 comes around. The baby weighed 5 pounds, 7 ounces, which put him in the 10th percentile. So from this point, we were going to start doing weekly sonograms just to keep track of how he's doing. Again, doctor was not concerned. He just more so wanted to be cautious. If he was below the 10th percentile, then he would have been a little bit more concerned, but he said, I may just carry small babies. Now, the rest of my family, as far as like my sister and my mother, they had big babies. So I was, kind of picked on the whole pregnancy that, oh, you're going to have big babies, just wait. And to find out he was only 5 pounds, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely not having a big baby. So that was fine. I wasn't super concerned because I figure there's babies that are born full term at 5 pounds and they're totally fine. He was breech. So I've had multiple sonograms before this, and he was like all over the place every time. Sometimes he was breech, sometimes he was in position, like he was all over the place. So I wasn't surprised, honestly. And it's my biggest fear that I would have a C-section. Like, my body does not heal well from surgeries. Every time I've had a surgery, as far as like my cancer goes and reconstruction and all that, 4 weeks after that surgery, I would have to have an emergency surgery because my wound would break down. So I was super, super nervous that was going to happen again. So I was like doing everything in my power to turn this baby around. His heart rate at that appointment was 148 beats per minute. Everything else with me checked out perfect, like normal. So once we got home, I started like doing all these different tricks to try to flip this baby around. But he still felt super, super high. I wasn't really expecting much. Week 38 comes around. We go in for our sonogram first before we see the doctor, and the baby's asleep, which made the sonogram, he's always been very difficult for sonograms. His hand is in front of his face. He's like in the weirdest position. They can't get the pictures they need. Like, he was like not interested in being filmed or photographed at all. It was like our little joke that he didn't want the paparazzi. So this sonogram, the sonographer was fine. Like, she was okay as a person, but she made us really, really nervous because the baby was sleeping, and I knew that she was looking for something, but she wouldn't tell us what. And she kept like jabbing my belly with like the wand thing. Long story short, she was looking for his breathing exercises, which I knew she was looking at his diaphragm because she kept going back to it. And then she finally had me lay on my side, and she was asking when I ate. She made me cough. She made me hold my breath, like was trying to make me do all these things. And now I'm getting nervous, but we knew his heartbeat was there because we had already seen it, or heard it rather, and it was 134 beats per minute. So it wasn't like anything had happened where like he was gone or anything. But she was making us really nervous. So finally she finds the breathing exercises and she records them, and that was it. But she like scolded me for not eating enough before the appointment, which I worked and I was super busy. It's not that I didn't mean, it was just whatever. And nobody told me I had to eat before my sonograms to get him to be super active. So note to self, eat before sonograms. So now we didn't weigh him this week because she said it's too soon. They do the weight every other week. So but at this appointment, he was laying sideways in my belly. So I'm like, all right, so he's slowly turning around. The doctor was super excited. He did an internal exam. Cervix still closed, like no moves are being made. He's still just being super content in my belly. So now comes week 39. I'm due August 7th. This was August 1st that I was there. It was a Thursday. And we weighed him again. He was 6 pounds, 4 ounces. And in between those 2 weeks, I decided, you know what, diet. I was eating super well throughout my pregnancy. I'm like, forget it. I'm going to eat ice cream every single night to try to fatten this baby up, to get him like out of that 10th percentile, a little bit higher. So it was actually kind of funny because the nurse weighed me and then wrote it down and then noticed what my weight was the week before, and she weighed me again. And she's like, you gained 5 pounds in a week. And I'm like, oh, I'm not surprised at all. I've eaten ice cream every single night to try to get this baby to gain some weight. And she's like, oh, okay, that's just not usual. I'm like, no, I totally understand. So it was kind of funny. And then everyone's like, oh, what kind of ice cream do you have? So it was chocolate peanut butter, by the way, or chocolate brownie, of course. So anyway, so he was 6 pounds, 4 ounces. So I'm going to say the ice cream definitely worked. But now he is breech again, which of course was my biggest fear, because now I'm 39 weeks and the chances of him flipping around in another week are probably slim to none. So I go in, we talk to the doctor, and he looks at the results from the sonogram, and he's like mad because he knew how much I didn't want a sonogram, or not a sonogram, a C-section. And he was like totally like thinking that from last week that the baby was going to turn. He's like, I felt him, like I totally thought he was going to turn. Well, it didn't happen. He's like, I'm so sorry, sweetie. He's like, we have to talk C-section. So now he's like, it's a Thursday, and he's like, I don't know what my schedule is, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm moving my daughter to college in the beginning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. And my due date was Wednesday. He's like, we cannot let you go past 40 weeks. You cannot go past your due date, because if you do go into labor and your water breaks, your cord can become prolapse, and then it's just bad news. So he goes, do you just want to get this done and over with, and we'll do it tomorrow? And I'm like, no, like I need a couple days to like finish getting the house set up. And now it's like a reality, like to go from not really knowing when it's going to happen to, tomorrow at 8 a.m., like your whole life flashes before you and you're like, oh my God, there's so much I have to do. So he left. He's like, let me go see what we can do. Because I told him, he had told me, he goes, if you do it Friday, someone else is going to do the surgery. And I'm like, well, honestly, like, I want you to do it. Like, you've been through everything with me. Like, everyone's capable of doing this. Like, it's a super popular procedure, but like, you're my doctor, you're my guy. You've been through my whole everything. So he's like, let me go see what I can find out. So his surgery scheduler comes in, and I was delivering at Sisters of Charity in Buffalo. She comes in and she's like, Saturday, 8 a.m. is surgery. So we're like, okay. And that was it. She's like, do you have any questions? And we're like, no. And now we leave, and I'm like, Eric knows I'm upset because I obviously don't want a C-section. I don't want to tell anyone yet. Like, it was not good. I felt like, I get it. I wasn't supposed to get pregnant in the first place. I know that this whole thing was a miracle, but for once in my life, I wanted my body to do something that it was supposed to do naturally on its own, like what it's built for. I wanted my water break. I wanted it to be a dramatic, like 2 o'clock in the morning, babe, you got to get up. We got to go to the hospital. Like, I wanted it to be, like, I wanted to experience everything about it. And of course, that's not the way that it was going to go. So, of course, Eric's trying to make me feel better and explain that it's better for me, it's better for the baby, it's less stressful for the both of us. It's super common for them to do this. Like, it's not all the drama. There's no risk of any uncertainties in them not doing the C-section and him trying to come out breech. So, like, I get it, but I was still mad. Like, I still felt robbed of that. And I still do. I mean, I'm 5 weeks postpartum, and I still am, like, sad that I couldn't literally push him out. Like, as weird as that sounds, like, I wanted to experience all of it, not just being, laying on a table and then, like, them handing me a baby. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, not that I don't feel like I didn't work for it. I was not happy. And then we had plans that night to go see my mom and to talk about me doing a commission piece of artwork for this new brewery that just opened up. So I'm like, I was glad because it was like able to take my mind off of things, but it was rough. And I still don't feel okay about it, even though, like, I don't even know how to explain it. I know that it was the better thing. I know that he's fine. I was fine. Like, everything went perfectly well. but it just, I didn't want that. So anyways, we go in August 3rd. It's a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So we get in the hospital at like 6. They do another sonogram just to make sure he's still breech. He is, of course. I felt his head was up in my ribs. His butt was on my bladder. Like, this kid did not want to come out. He was perfectly content in my belly. So the nurse comes in and she starts AV in my hand. She blows my vein. So now we have to do it in the middle of my arm, which, whatever. They cannot do, and everything has to be done on my left side. Blood pressure, needle pricks. I had 16 lymph nodes removed on my right side because my cancer had spread to my lymph nodes. So I cannot have anything done on my right side because it can cause lymphedema, which is a whole other thing. So she's like, oh, well, I could use your right. I'm like, no, you can't. And it's like, I have to fight with people every time we go through this. So she gets the IV in. They put a catheter in, which I thought they would do after I had the spinal tap. No. So that was super unpleasant. So they take me into the surgery room, and Eric was like super emotional all morning. Like, he was super nervous, wanted to make sure everything went okay. Like, he just wanted it to be over, to know that everything was fine. So I was distracted by him because I was more nervous about him. And I typically, from all the surgeries I've had, I never get worked up before surgery. Like, I am the calmest I ever am before I go into surgery, which makes no sense. I think it's because I know, like, you can't, like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Like, I can't control any of it, so why get worked up about it? So they get me all dressed. They do the sonogram. They do everything that they run blood work. They do whatever. Eric gets all changed in his little suit with like his hat and all the scrubs and like the booties, and they take me into the OR and they do the spinal tap. My anesthesiologist was amazing. Like, he was incredible. And again, I've had a lot of surgeries. This guy was legit. I was super nervous about the spinal tap because obviously, like, you're awake, it's your spine, like, all sorts of crazy can go on. And I've watched other YouTubers like actually have the spinal tap done or the epidural done, and like they cry, they shake, they're like, you know, in pain, and like it's this whole big thing. And I winced when he initially put the needle in, and that was it. Like, it was so much easier than I thought it was going to be. Not to dumb it down, like, it's not an easy thing. I don't want to think, like, I don't want to make it not seem like what it is, but it was a lot better than I thought it was going, or a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So, anyways, he puts that in, and he tells me he has to get, so in something, whether it was part in the spinal tap or just in my IV, they were going to give me morphine. And I told him I don't react well with morphine. When I had it in my other surgery, I didn't feel it at all. I would get up to go to the restroom and my heart rate would go up to 180 just by trying to get up. So I said it really doesn't work for me. And for whatever reason, he still had to give it to me. I don't remember all of it, but I told him, I said, I'm going to get itchy. It's not like I have an allergic reaction to it, but it's a normal reaction people have. Like, not so much my body, but my face. Like, I feel like something is on my face. Like, I look like a crackhead. It's not like, not that that's funny, but like, I feel like something's, and I'm not like itching, but it's just like, I feel like something's there. So I'm like, I'm gonna need Benadryl, like 100%. But also know, as soon as you give me intravenous Benadryl, I am high as a kite in seconds. So he's like, all right, I'll only give you a half dose and we'll see how you do. So they go in, spinal tap's done, I'm laying on the table, anesthesiologist is talking me through, making sure I'm okay, like literally every 2 minutes. They bring Eric in, and he wasn't expecting to see me lying on the table, arms out, like he had no idea what he was walking into. I'm, again, super calm because I'm worried, like, he's gonna see blood and he's gonna pass out and hit the floor. So I was so concerned with him that I was, again, super calm. Because, again, I can't feel anything, I can't move, like, it was just a crazy experience. Doctor comes in, starts the surgery. Literally, like, I want to say within 15 minutes, like, our baby was born. We went in at 8 o'clock sharp. Xavier was born at 8:30 exact, 8:30 a.m. And so Eric's walking over, taking pictures. He did really, really well. It was crazy. And then I just kind of laid there, waited for them to like sew me up, do whatever. Eric was able to take pictures. You know, we could hear him. The doctor showed him to us, and it was like they wrapped him up, and then they like took a picture of him next to my head. And obviously I can't hold him because my arms are spread out like on the table. But it was like just in an instant, no drama, no nonsense, like your baby's here. And that was it. Like I didn't feel any pain. Like it was so bizarre. And even though you know that that's what's going to happen, it was still like, I felt like it didn't work for this child. Like I felt like something else should have happened. So then they go to stitch me up and clean me up and do whatever. So they hand the baby to Eric and they're like, all right, come on. And they just like put him in the recovery room. And he's like, what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do here. So they finally get me all done. They take me back to the recovery room and I start to get itchy. Like my face is starting to get itchy. And I asked the anesthesiologist, I'm like, did you give me the Benadryl? And he's like, yeah. Or he said, no. He's like, I forgot. So I'm like, I'm starting to get really, really itchy. So he gives me the whole shot. And within seconds, again, I can feel my speech starting to slur. I am high as a kite. Like I'm talking, it was bad. Like I felt like just a disaster. I couldn't speak. I couldn't get my words out properly. I just wanted to go to sleep. I have this beautiful baby and I don't even want to hold him because I'm afraid I'm going to drop him on the floor. Like that's how bad I am with Benadryl. And I can take normal pills and I'm fine. I can take 2 pills and function. But you give me that intravenously and I am a hot mess. So the whole time I'm like, my newborn is sitting right here and he's super calm and just relaxed and I can't even hold him. So now, well, let's go back. He was born at 8:30, 6 pounds, 7 ounces, and he measured 19 inches and a quarter long. So the measurement at the doctor, the weight, was pretty spot on. Usually they say it can fluctuate about a pound or so. So now the nurses kept trying to take my temperature. They kept trying to take the baby's temperature and it's not registering. They're putting it under my armpit, under my tongue, under the baby's armpit, under his leg, like all over the place, and it's not registering. Then they finally get a read on me and my body temperature is 94.7. The baby is also registering super, super low body temperature. So they have 6 warm blankets on top of me. I'm not getting any warmer. He's not getting any warmer. He's with Eric in his arms. He's got blankets over him too. So finally I'm like, please, can we like do skin to skin? Do you think that'll help? I know one of the benefits is regulating body temperature. So they're like, yeah. And I said, just make sure somebody's like by me. Cause again, I'm super nervous. He's just going to roll right off of me onto the floor. So they do skin to skin. And about an hour later, our temperatures were at normal levels. But I tell you, it was the worst feeling in my life from that Benadryl. I wish I could have just not taken it, and because I didn't even think about it. I was just thinking about itching so much that I just needed that to stop because I felt like a crackhead. I hate that feeling. But then the feeling of the Benadryl was so much worse. I just, like, there's no worse feeling than having this newborn child and you're afraid you're going to drop him. It was awful. But then everything was fine. They took us to our room and I was on Dilaudid. I still had my catheter for the first night. Eric did have to go home at night. I didn't expect him to sleep in the hospital. I didn't really want him to sleep in the hospital because I knew he wouldn't be comfortable. We have 3 dogs at home. They need to be tended to. Our families obviously have their own stuff to do. So he went home at night. The baby stayed in the nursery the first night because I couldn't move. I had a catheter in and I was on Dilaudid for the pain and other stuff too. He fed really well. He passed all of his hearing. Like everything went super well. The second night he did wind up staying in the nursery as well because I was still on Dilaudid for the pain. And again, I just didn't feel comfortable picking up a newborn and getting out of bed, like all funny feeling. I wound up going home Tuesday. They said I could stay till Wednesday, but by that time I was just ready to go home. I was walking around my room. I felt really, really good. So I didn't feel that it was necessary for me to stay. I hate being in hospitals anyways. Like if they give me the green light to go home, I'm out. So all in all, you know, I am still upset that I didn't have a natural vaginal birth. But at the end of the day, there was no stress, less stress on him, less stress on me. Everything was perfect. His head was beautifully shaped because I didn't have to squeeze him out. He really is just such a miracle, and I just am over the moon. We are over the moon, just in love with him. This whole experience has been so wild and just so not what I thought it was going to be. And again, just waiting for something to happen, and it never did. Like this truly was our finally something good for us. We've been through so much the last 4 years that this is just the way it's supposed to be. I mean, this is just the way that our lives are supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like waiting for something bad to happen. Just, it's so wonderful, and we're so blessed to have him, and we just love every ounce of him. I hope you guys really like this. There's so much more I could talk about, but that's really like the nuts and bolts of it. It was such an amazing experience. If you guys like this channel, or if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so. I'm gonna have a ton more videos coming out now that Xavier's here with us. Between, again, continuing my cancer journey, me painting, I'll eventually start those videos when he naps long enough. But I want you guys to come on this ride with me. I want you to be a part of my family and see what we go through and, you know, how we're growing. So I hope you do subscribe, turn on your bell notifications so that you can see when I have more videos come out. And I really hope you enjoyed this. So I hope you all have a great day. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye.